guys, good morning. So I'm just working on some garden maintenance again today. I have so much to do out here. I don't even know where I'm gonna start. I'm gonna try to avoid looking at any tree because I don't want to spend a bunch of my time pruning because there's so many perennials that need attention. So I think the best thing I can do is just start gathering up all of my tools. I'm gonna go get the lawn tractor and then I'm just gonna pick a flower bed to start it. Cheddar, what are you doing? Okay. So I've got my ice water and some pruners. I already had a kangaroo pop-up bag by the back door. That's typically what I end up with at night. So Benjamin and I come out here in the evenings and I just kind of fuss with plants a little bit while he explores, and then I end up just dumping my tools at the back door. But I need to go gather up all the other things that I like to use. Oh, I forgot I left a bunch of locust branches in the trailer last night. Dang, I'm gonna have to go find a place to put those first. So we're in the area right behind the gazebo, and this flower bed is in the shade for a little while in the morning, so I'm hoping to get this one done. And it's looking a little bit mangy, so I have 5 Mary Rose David Austin roses kind of in a swoop through here, or a drift, and they need to be deadheaded really bad, as do most of the daisies. Most of them are spent at this point. This is Cat's Pajamas Nepeta. Lots of spent blooms on that. So I'm expecting a pretty nice look when I'm all done. I'm also going to be cutting back most of the delphiniums back here. There are some that have a few blooms, but most of them are kind of toppled and they need to just be cleaned up. But before I start in with all of my cutting back, I am gonna spread some mosquito repellent around because this is our worst area for mosquitoes and I don't want to get eaten alive out here. All right, so I'm gonna start in with the actual work here. So with this Nepeta, usually if you catch it at the right time, you can kind of shear the whole plant back to create a nice little mound, which I may still do, but you can see that it's already starting to set its second flush of blooms, and there are some nice ones still. So I might be slightly selective as to what I cut back, so I leave all the good stuff in the buds, just because I left it so long. And then with the daisies, I'm gonna kind of do the same thing. I'm gonna be selective because there's still some really nice ones in here, but like these I want to take out so I don't have to look at those anymore. And there are a few of the daisies that are much further along, like this whole plant almost can be cut back a little bit. And these daisies I transplanted here this spring from another flower bed and they've done really well. I'm really thankful for that. So let's tackle this Nepeta first. Gotta wear gloves because we're doing a cooking video later today. Can't have gross hands. Nepeta and daisies are done and we're starting to get more light in this flower bed right now. While we're here, I'll show you, we've got some drumstick alliums, which are spent, but I'm really enjoying the texture they're bringing still to this area, and they still have some really pretty color. So if you look at that, they've got some really nice purple, which looks really pretty with my Summerific Berry Awesome Hibiscus, which these two are doing great. I have a third tucked in back there, and it's got buds on it, but it's a little bit iron deficient, so I'm gonna have to put some iron tone on that. But like I said, I selectively pruned this Nepeta so that I didn't sacrifice the blooms that are still there. So there are still some spent blooms in there. You know, I could spend a lot more time, but I just don't have time to fuss that much on these perennials. The daisies here I selectively pruned as well, and I just took each spent bloom down to where I saw a new bloom forming. So like on this one here, I cut that one, that spent bloom off there where I saw a new bud forming, which will be a new flower. And there are buds all over on these daisies, so I'm expecting another nice show of color. So now I'm going to tackle the roses and delphiniums. We have done a more in-depth video on rose deadheading. It's been a long time ago though, so we're probably due for a refresh, but let me just show you kind of in short what I'm going to be doing. So let's take a look at this branch right here. Clearly these roses are done and need to be pruned off. So what I like to do is follow the stem down to the first set of 5 leaves right here, and then I just cut above that. But you do want to be careful because like this set is perfect because it's facing this direction. Wherever you cut it, whatever direction that set of leaves is facing, that's the way the new branch will form. It'll go out this way, as opposed to like if I were to cut it above this set of 5 leaves, my new branch would start kind of cruising in toward the center of the rose bush, which we don't want. We want it to be a nicely shaped shrub without wonky branches. So this is where I'd cut that one. Now there is a cluster of blooms right here where we've got a really nice one. Isn't that pretty? So beautiful. So what I'll do, because I want to enjoy this bloom, is I'll just take each one of these individual blooms off right where they connect to the main stem. So I'm not worrying about leaves or anything, I'm just taking off the spent blooms. I hope that wasn't confusing. So now I'm going to take after these rose bushes and get the delphiniums cut back. Hoping to get the cleanup done before the sun started to beam into this area, but you can see back in here that I ended up taking the delphiniums all the way down because there wasn't much worth saving once I got into the project. So the last couple of things I want to do in this bed are to dig this one grass out. See, I've got this like little drift of blue fescue, and then this random one that's all green and it's bugging me. So I'm gonna take that out so we've got our all blue going on. And I'm gonna go ahead and feed my roses because it's a good time of year to do that. Now 4 of them are actually brand new. So these 2 and the 2 that are over here, I just planted this spring. This one I planted last summer. And they're all doing really well, but I just want to keep them going and keep them healthy. And the very last thing I'm going to do is throw a little bit of mulch down in the areas of soil that I can see, because it does help with weed suppression and moisture retention this time of year, which is really, really helpful. Oh, that's a rock. Oh, that's much, much better. Well, I most certainly did not beat the sun, but everything is looking much tidier. The cutback and the mulch just help so much. So I am running out of time in order to do any more projects today, so I thought I would just go over these plants a little bit. So the Cat's Pajamas Nepeta is one that grows about a foot tall, maybe a little bit more, and then spreads out about 18 inches or so. So I thought it'd be pretty to have a drift start at this pennisetum and kind of tuck in behind the blue fescue right here. And which, by the way, I love these drifts of grasses back here. These were here when we moved in. Aaron's not a huge fan, especially of the blue fescue, but I think it's going to be so pretty once these Mary Rose roses really establish and get bigger, having that pink with that light blue. And I love the native feel of this. And from this angle, I think it's just so pretty over the pathway. The Daisy May daisies right there, so there are 4 of them. They grow like maybe 20 to 24 inches tall. So I thought that they would be a good stair step like up and fill in a little bit around the roses. This is a Skylands Oriental spruce right here. Very architectural and sparse. It's doing okay in this area. So far, it's not burning. It's looking a little bit like it had some needle cast this spring, and I'm seeing I left my hose out behind it, so ignore that. But this one, I'm hoping, grows to its full size. It grows 25 feet tall by 15 feet wide, which I understand that at the point where, you know, it gets that big, I will have had to move these things, but it takes so long for evergreens to get there that I didn't want to leave a ton of space around it. And then back in there is where the delphiniums were, and then just beyond the delphiniums there's a little drift of lady's mantle or Alchemilla mollis, which is a gorgeous perennial. So anyway, this area just spruced right up. It's looking so good. You can see the pinky winky hydrangea standards are blooming. And you guys, I just noticed this. I'm gonna zoom in on this tree. We've got a huge, I think it's a hornet's nest. Look at that. I did not notice that until today. I'm not really sure what to do with that. And it's really high up in that tree. So here's a look at this area from this other side. And I love that you can look across all these beds and you can see Hebe there underneath the weeping willow. I think it's just such a pretty area. You can see the pots of flowers and the petunia tower. You know, when I cut back the delphiniums, it does leave quite a void right in here, but they usually recharge and put on another bloom this season. So I'm looking forward to that. It doesn't take usually that long. But I wanted to show you the ladies' mantle from up close. They're just the most beautiful perennials, super tough. They look gorgeous when water collects on their leaves, and they almost look like kind of lettuce-esque. I should deadhead them. These are their blooms right here. And when they're in bloom, they kind of look like this. They're a little bit more yellow, but they're just kind of a really pretty, just charming plant. I love it. Lupins right back in here that I kind of cleaned up and cut back. And then of course we start in with our hibiscus over there. And then these containers are doing really well. We've got Wicked Hot Coleus in there, and then the Chocolate Drop. I put Diamond Snow in there, I think is what it's called. Totally engulfed by the Coleus. But you can see the Dichondra peeking out from underneath on both of these. See that Dichondra? So pretty. Like, this is all foliage. All gorgeous. Okay, back on the other side, I just wanted to show you the bed that's right beyond this one, because I think it's looking really pretty. There's Purple Chablis Lamium, White Gomphrena, Supertunia Bordeaux. There's some Wicked Hot Coleus. That is a Murray's Double File Viburnum, and then there's hostas all over in this area with the Japanese maple. It's just turning into a really pretty lush area. I don't know if you guys remember, but there used to be 2 juniper trees in here that we had removed eventually because they had blight really bad. Totally loving this area so much more now. So I think that's pretty much it for this video. That's all I can squeeze into this morning. We have a whole bunch of things we have to do this afternoon, and I've got to get everything watered first. With it getting so hot today, I've got to make sure everything is ready for that. So anyway, I'm happy with getting at least one flower bed done and weeded and mulched, cut back, fertilized. Everything is done in this area, so I can check that one off the list and move on to the next one. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and watching this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye. Oh, and if any of you guys have any suggestions on that big old bee's nest, let me know. I have never dealt with something like that before. A little scared.